Hey guys, this is Pablo with Meditation Amsterdam. And in this video, I want to share a thought that has been playing in my mind for the last few months. And it started to arise as a consequence or a byproduct of all the emotional material that has been being worked through. Which seems almost endless. It isn't, because there's very, very clear progress and a lot of added clarity, a lot of added empathy, a lot of very, very positive things have been visibly taking place for me, or rather tangibly taking place. But the amount of what the alchemists used to call negredo, right? The dark material, the shadow material that has been coming to the surface is absolutely enormous. And to the point where I start to wonder, and I've read other people say this, am I cursed or something? Did I, did I do something wrong here? What's the deal here? It's interesting. I was reading my Mayan Nahual. So Mayans were the culture that was living in the area of Guatemala where I grew up many, many years ago. Don't test my history skills. And my sign is the sign of death, that which is supposed to die and be reborn. So the sign of death is that there's this sort of sacrificial theme to it. And it is understood that death is that which heralds the possibility of rebirth, right? So, and then Nahual said that the sign of death is born with a very heavy toll, or a very heavy load of pain from past lives. Now, I don't want to subscribe or preach for past life beliefs, so we can skip all that. But I did resonate with the description of the Nahual. It was kind of eerily accurate, actually. But I digress. The main point about this whole story is how we, as highly empathic individuals, of which I consider myself one, very often will feel like we are processing and digesting, or emotionally metabolizing every single thing that our predecessors did not. So in that sense, and hence the title of the video, it feels like being the cleanup crew. It feels like everybody got off on a misdemeanor charge, and we're on trial for capital murder, right? Like we are taking on, as a scapegoat, taking on the sins of the entire tribe, and being asked to purify the entire system. And that's not too far from what's going on here. I might, and very likely will, make a separate video about this, but there's been a theme I've had sessions with about 5 individuals, all of which came to the exact same theme rather, of why did the significant others in my childhood not see me for what I was and validate what I was unconditionally? And the painful and simple answer for that is that they had not done that with themselves. We, in other words, were a painful reminder to them of that which was not processed. And that goes for both situations in which people had bad or narcissistic parents, or situations in which we had loving parents. I fall into that camp. I can say that I had very loving parents who were nonetheless, on some emotional levels, extremely dysfunctional, or just enough so that that would leave an imprint of pain that would later need to be processed. So it feels like we're the cleanup crew. And as a matter of fact, I think we are. I think we are the cleanup crew. We are of a turn of mind and heart that cannot deal with untruth and disharmony. It just hurts too much. We are forced, in a sense, to first disassociate from it and then later confront it. There seems to be not much choice. It's either that or implode. Right? You take your pick. But the reality is we are where we are and we feel the way we feel. And there's no choice but to actually deal with this. That's the bad news portion of this little video. The good news portion of it is something that I was sharing with someone that I stopped coaching about 6 months ago, a person that I really like, actually. I was catching up with this person a few days back. And she says, you've been hinting at the fact that you're touching on the non-dual, on non-duality, and in an experiential level, not just conceptually, but it's actually happening. Can you tell me what it is like? And I want to do that. I want to try and paraphrase what I shared with her, because it's a reward that those who do not do the cleanup, those who have either chosen or been born with extremely effective repression mechanisms that make them, between quotes, happy and productive, will not get to taste. And I described the experience of the non-dual as coming in what I would call 2 levels. And level 1 is especially after you let go of certain emotional pains or repressions, things acquire a kind of amber golden shimmer. Everything looks much more warm, welcoming, and vibrant and alive. And it has this beautiful cinematographic feel to it. And in fact, it was one of my most rewarding scenes in the first installment of the movie Dune by Denis Villeneuve. When, if you have seen it, or if you haven't, I recommend it because of the cinematography. When Paul Atreides first steps onto the sands of a spice field in Arrakis for the first time, and he's hit with a cloud of sand that is full of spice. And for those of you who know the story, the spice is a hallucinogen, a compound. So he's hit with this hallucinogen, and because he is, the one, he's an empath, he's ready for awakening. He is particularly sensitive to spice, and he starts tripping. And the trip is shown as this sort of ultra high-res, very intimate golden field full of bouquet shimmers. And I was incredibly pleased at how Denis Villeneuve captured what it feels like to enter that space. It's a very accurate cinematographic depiction of it. So it's one of the reasons I recommend the movie. And that's level 1. Everything is as if you're seeing the entire world through an amber golden hue lens. It's brighter, it's more beautiful, it's more welcoming, and everything feels more correct. The second level is a completely different story, though, because if the non-dual is enhanced either naturally or through practices or you name it, see, in the first level, it still feels like there's a you having that experience of the golden shimmery stuff. But in the second level, and let's get too attached to this whole levels business. This is just a practical description. You as a subject collapse into your perception. There's a collapse of subject and object, and it is a fully immersive becoming experience, or becoming the happening of experience, you are indistinguishable from everything that you perceive. There is no you left in that. And whilst that to the ego mind might sound scary or confusing or weird, the living truth of what that becomes is so intimate, immersive, and beautiful that it makes even the most sublime of the normal human experiences pale in comparison. It dwarfs anything on the normal human level. It is beyond description. Angelo Di Lullo in his channel sometimes describes it in a very similar way. Now, I don't live in that space, not yet anyway. I've touched it now more often than in the past, much more often, and it is clear to me that touching that space, whether it's level 1 or 2, is in direct relation to the amount of cleanup that I have done. And it is a cleanup that would not have ensued unless I was in enough pain. Things felt disjointed. Something was wrong. Yeah. So yes, we're the cleanup crew, but we have a distinct possibility of leapfrogging the normal human experience into something utterly different than whatever the waking state is like for most people. And whether that happens or not is, I think, a combination of factors. It is not enough to be an empath. In fact, many empaths just implode. It's just too heavy a load, too heavy a burden, too heavy a cross to carry. We are, from a nature's point of view, a very expensive experiment, a very risky experiment. Someone who can feel more, as opposed to just be a diesel that powers through and, physically or mentally slashes the enemy and wins, right? And conquers the day, so to speak. We're not that. We are here to make a jump into something much more subtle than that. But sometimes our human level can pay a very heavy toll for that. So we need to learn how to balance that out, how to strengthen and ground and make the human level wholesome and strong, to be able to become a vessel or a vehicle for the subtle to be explored. So many of the people that I work with have what I believe to be the right qualities for this. It's the given ones, such as an orientation towards truth and sincerity, and a high degree of intelligence and sensitivity, but also tremendous resilience in the face of a family that just could not even recognize what you are. Utterly blind. Utterly blind. It reminds me of the movie Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino, who lives with, his brother-in-law and his sister or whatever, and they keep him in a kind of separate shed or whatever. And so, there's a guy who arrives to take care of him because he's blind, and the family is going away on holiday. And when they drive off, they drive out of the driveway and onto the street, and he says, "Yabba dabba doo," as in, like, there go the Flintstones. There go the barbarians who have no subtlety, no understanding, completely mechanical in this world, just to produce and reproduce, but really, you unable to see any other level as interesting or edifying or worth pursuing, right? So there you have it. So that's just a thought for today. It's very often it feels reassuring to be recognized in our experiences, and to know that even though it feels like we're alone and we're going through this as a solo experiment, it isn't. We're not. Some of us may feel a little bit like solo travelers or warriors, and we're a bit like cats. I, for one, don't like clubs or I don't like little groups or things to share a lot of stuff other than in this channel, of course, which I really enjoy. But it is often reassuring to have our experience recognized, so that we know that we're not just a single weirdo out there. We're not, clearly not. There's many channels affirming this. And I thought it would be just something nice to put out there. So that's it. That's today's thought. It's Monday evening. I thought I'd start the week with that. I have a ton of ideas to share with you guys. I hope I get around to do some of those this week. Thanks for sticking it through until the end of the video, if you did. Curious to hear what you make of it. And as usual, if you think that the content in this channel is of value, then like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one pretty soon. Cheerio. Bye-bye.